Time, you better put the phone on the answer machine for this next match. It should be a beauty, Garvel and Melbourne. Both teams were first-up winners last week. Garvel, it must be said, were pushed by the Institute of Sport. And, Anne, I think this match should give us a guide to their semi-final aspirations.
Well, definitely both are semi-final contenders. You're right about Garvel last week. Took 3/4 of a game to really come out ahead against the Institute, and the Institute far less experienced than Garvel. Normally they're so strong in their forward line, but I thought they were found wanting in the timing department. Melbourne, by comparison, I thought, despite the injuries to their side, were near flawless and very strong across the line on McInnes and Taverner. So I think it's going to be a tremendous game, that's assured. I fancy Melbourne at this stage. I think they've come out where they left off last season and looking very good.
Looking solid and indeed almost unbeatable up front for Melbourne is Eloise Southby, and starting with her, Danny Arnott. No change to the midcourt with Michelle Bennison, Ingrid Dick and captain Simone McInnes. Janine Lynch still out with her scaphoid injury, but what a luxury for Norma Plummer having Rosie Jenke to join Liz Taverner in the last line. Southby will be 20 in July, and already she's serving notice to the national squad shooters that she's arrived. Her effort last week against Queensland, a healthy 94% to start the season. Higher duties can't be far off. For Garvel, no surprises with that 7, but we'll look for a swap between Borlase and Avellino if they struggle with the Melbourne defence. The midcourt should be the scene of a great battle, with Abbott, Grant and Pearce likely to at least hold their own, while Gill and Squire are also sure to have their hands full. Another big test for Debbie Miller, who has come across from Oakdale to coach. Also from Oakdale is their import, Peter Squire, the defender brought in to replace Michelle Dendecker. Peter has played at Australian under-21 level and for the South Australian Open side at last year's Nationals. And the centre pass is from Danny Grant as Garvel in the grey against Melbourne in the blue. Get things underway. Borlase first shot. Pretty crisp move to the circle first off for Garvel, but she's got to take her own rebound as she misses twice with a fairly tentative start. Contact against Jenke, and third time in for Borlase, the captain of the Garvel team.
Borlase, the perfectionist, not looking happy with that start. She's renowned for her accuracy and, of course, leading Garvel now with Michelle Dendecker off court. Shaky start, too, from Melbourne, so the pressure's showing. It's early days in the competition, but both would dearly love to assert themselves and take points.
Well, we only have to remember last year how close these sides were matched, with Melbourne winning both times in the rounds 55-54 and in their semi 55-53. And perhaps the players they're missing, Anne, on both sides, pretty much a leveller.
I think so. Both missing key defenders. For Melbourne, Janine Lynch is sidelined with a scaphoid injury. She's had that pinned. Also, Susie Howie out as an option for their mid-court. They've got a strong one as it is. And Garvel missing their former captain and goal defender, sometimes keeper, Michelle Dendecker. And we keep asking, are there any aunties in the Garvel pack? And they say any day now, any second now. And they asked us, would we let them know if we found out on air first?
Well, as the players hit the court, Michelle was overdue. But we wish her well when the big moment comes.
It's funny, because the timing's always been impeccable.
Taverner, a little infringement at the centre pass. McInnes leaves it for Ingrid Dick. Southby, well, I didn't seem to read it through the air. She was pretty much unmarked. So, some mistakes. Another one from Garvel then. Perhaps the importance of this match emphasised by this early error rate.
Well, Melbourne, I've been rapping because of their composure. Very young heads out there. As we have a look at the umpires, Jan Cross and Sharon Burge.
Borlase crossed the circle, meant for Grant. Offside was Ingrid Dick.
That's Jan Cross on camera, working the far sideline and the left-hand half of the court. Beautiful pass. Danny Grant reading Avellino's slick move across the base. Timing much better there for Garvel. Yeah, I was rapping Melbourne for their composure, and Eloise Southby, despite her youth, one of the most composed, just doesn't seem to miss a beat, and she's always started the games really well. So, as you say, just a bit shaky knowing that they're evenly matched. She's in the swing of it now.
187 centimetres, the tallest in that circle. But it's not height that she relies upon only. She has all the skills.
Unlike so many of the teams we've covered so far in the MOBIL League, these two don't have standouts in the height department. It's fairly level pegging down the court. and quite well-rounded athletes exploring the speed and elevation more so than just the height.
Southby needing a slightly longer left arm. Not having a happy start. Grant Avellino always on the stretch.
Avellino well out of the circle. In fact, back near the transverse line signaling. She wanted to open the circle again, but the feeders are looking only to the circle and to Borlase.
So that's the Garble bench of Leah Torsen, Michelle Kelso, Kelly Venice. Arnott. Melbourne by 3. Make it 4.
10 straight, Southby.
Grant centre pass. Avellino. Abbott stops. Taverner overran it. Should have made it simple, but there was a whistle.
Unfortunately, that's a penalty against Taverner, leaving the circle exposed. Jenke with 2 to cope with. One of them dangerous. They're both dangerous, but Avellino on occasion.
McInnes.
McInnes really controls the middle here for Melbourne. She mixes up the timing, backs up the play. Southby is deceptive on the offload to Arnott, giving her second. 100%, 2 from 2.
Grant back to Squire, into the arms of Benison. They'll take it. Southby, a long way from home.
Good pressure from Arnott. Really worked hard her defence on that centre.
Abbott. Squire. Grant.
Close checking from Jenke.
Close.
Well, you know, I'm a shooter. I don't want to sound like I'm against the defenders.
Sharing a bib there. Taverner. Touch from Grant and...
A touch?
All right, hip and shoulder. Benison. Arnott.
Oh, quick hands from Arnott. The double play, maybe a triple play. I've lost count there between Benison and Arnott.
Gee, there were 2 on 1 there with Southby. Arnott should have taken the shot the first time. If she looks at the tape, perhaps. Anyway, right result. You'd have been bold indeed to pick this kind of lead for either team. It's Melbourne enjoying it. Borlase does not pull one back. Taverner reels it in. What a pair, Taverner and Jenke. Avellino trying hard to get amongst it. Gets a touch.
That's evidence of the pressure Garble must feel out there in this first quarter as an, until then, very slick Melbourne Puma machine.
That was the no-look pass from Benison for Arnott, but Michelle could have looked. McInnes.
Unforced errors all over the ship. He's just about ready for the break, I'd say.
Last minute, first quarter, 18-10. Melbourne lead it.
Good turn of play there from Grant to pick up Sheridan Abbott. And again, Borlase unable to finish.
Taverner, a useful attempt at defending from behind. Arnott out. Neatly placed pass for Southby. And Gill the rebound. Might be all we'll see as the timekeeper's up. And a desperate pass to no good measure from Danny Grant. But what a good first quarter from Melbourne. Lead it over Adelaide Garble, surprisingly by that margin, 18-11. There's a bit of hesitation at the start of the quarter there, and a little bit of an elbow from Liz Taverner to remind Natalie Avellino that the lead that Melbourne have established won't be given away lightly.
And look at those stats for Melbourne, just punishing Eloise Southby. Ample possession with 17 attempts and great form, 82%, 14 through the ring for her. Danny Arnott not enjoying too much access to the ball, but 100% accuracy. Adelaide Garble, they won't like to see the possession. Only 17 attempts in that first quarter. 7 from 12 for their skipper at 58%. Uncharacteristic for Jenny Borlase. Avellino, 80%.
Southby.
Norma Plummer. Susie Howie to the far right. Just come out of plaster this week, Steve.
That's right. And talking to Norma about Susie's chances of making the Australian under-21 side to go to Canada for the World Youth Cup. And Norma is much in praise of the new selection system that allows well-credentialed, injured players the maximum time to get back into a national side.
Absolutely. I think for too long we've been ruthless and clear-cut in saying, no, can't meet the time, you're not there. Whereas, you know, New Zealand, probably our main opposition, have really nurtured people back from maternity leave and injuries and the like. And why not? Why sacrifice a player instead of giving them every chance? And Howie right in there contesting a spot in that youth team. And Australia wanting to avenge a loss a few years back to New Zealand. They'd love to have that crown.
Southby are much amused. 20-12.
That'd be the 8-goal margin that's lightening her mood.
Arnott, Southby, and a touch from Danny Grant, denying Ingrid Dick.
It's interesting to see the emergence of new teams in the competition. For so long we've watched Garville and considered them to have the slick timing and the understanding throughout the combination that many other teams lacked. It's turned now. It's all with Melbourne in this first stage of the game.
Avellino, Taverner put beside. Southby.
She took it well. It was placed on the inside, then closer to Gill than herself. So good, strong hands then from the youngster.
Nice disguise on that pass there. It really did look like she was up for the shot. Didn't work out, but looked good. Give me points for that?
Yeah.
I'm easily fooled.
No, I like that one.
Southby again.
Then there's a lot to like about these two teams.
Garville centre pass. Avellino. Grant gives the 1-2 to McInnes. Still the margin pretty much as it was at quarter time. Garville have taken a few out of it and then given them back. Last 5 minutes of the quarter. Avellino. Melbourne with it again. McInnes. Oh, quick hands from Southby to Arnott. She's fairly sparing in that, but she does once or twice a game show you that she's got those skills.
Absolutely, but that was just wonderful attacking play from their skipper, McInnes, and read well by Southby. How do you do?
Avellino round the back to Grant and driving the bases, Bourlays.
And her only problem then was trying to get a feet grounder before she took the ball.
So Deb Miller with the problems.
Again, wonderful take from McInnes at speed.
Anderson up for Arnott. Squire right there. Gill. It's like a baseball catcher shaking your head. Don't want that one. No, no, no. Or pitcher. Bourlays. Grant. Now Avellino. 27-22. McInnes. And over the top of Arnott. Gill looks for Pearce. Up the line to Abbott. Grant.
What a take.
Yeah.
What a take, what breaks.
And
Avellino coming into her own.
Melbourne set a pass. Garville just taken 1 or 2 out of the lead again.
Yeah, Melbourne not looking as relaxed now. And rightly so, with a team of Garville's calibre. And I really sense Avellino stepping it up a gear now.
Ingrid Dick to Danny Arnott. Hold against Grant.
And just look at the body jostling back in the circle.
Southby Little fortunate. There's just enough kick off the ring by the
Well,
ball
it wasn't
to find
much
it.
of a jump, but the stretch and the timing was spot on.
Avellino, Abbott, 150 in the quarter, 5 the lead for Melbourne. A few of their bench players getting up, see there, to go and warm up. Jocelyn Bryant, one of them.
Chris Harris, the next walking off, tracksuit top on, former Australian shooter.
Age undisclosed.
Yeah, because if we tell hers, I'm going to have to confess to a few too, so we'll stay out of that one. We can still run, though, you'll be pleased to know.
Back to the Melbourne circle comes the ball. Southby.
Whoa. Mission of prayer.
So the 4 of them, Bryant, Flyner, Harrison, Patterson.
We've got shooters and mid-courts warming up. The 2 shooters warming up, actually. It's Harris and Bryant doing the warming up. Keep you posted on that.
Well, even if Norma Plummer hasn't decided if and or what changes she'll make, she wants those players ready.
Squire apologising to Abbott for that ball, but she was under a lot of pressure from McInnes. In fact, McInnes right in underneath her shoulder. It contributed towards her being offline on the take.
Contact from Grant. Still with Melbourne. Time enough in this last few moments for another Melbourne goal. Southby does just that. Looking for Abbott, touch from Ingrid Dick. Squire.
Borlase encouraging Garville to be quick about it, knowing that they're running out of time. And again, a brilliant move on the base from Avellino.
Lucky that dropped because the timekeeper's up and beside Jan Cross. Time called for a moment. The last few seconds not allowed to wind down.
Well, not allowing Melbourne to stall.
Well, there was about half a second left when they called time. But now the second quarter is over and the lead is as it was. Well, 1 taken off it. It's 30-24 at half-time.
The game is a lot faster now, and the players are more skilled and more, well, to me, seem to be more committed. They do a lot of training, they put in a lot of time, and as umpires, I think we should put in the same amount of time to be fair to the players. Do the same sort of training that the players do and be involved with the players at their training sessions.
Ingrid Dick, Melbourne Centre, gets us going. Third quarter, and no changes to report. And second quarter that was pretty even.
And the accuracy still with Southby at 9 from 11, 81%. Danny Arnott with 60%. Garville really enjoying Avellino's return to form in goals. 9 from 10 at 90%. Borlase still down in the 50s, and we're not used to seeing her there. Only 4 from 7. So if she can lift, Garville might well run in this gap.
So Garville offering 17 shots to 16 in that second quarter and winning the quarter 13-12.
Well, you have to put wraps on Rosie Jenke to be causing problems for Jenny Borlase, as she stepped in to Wilson's shoes last year, and in Vicky Wilson's absence, widely touted as probably the best shooter currently in Australia till Wilson gets back on court. Then they can argue it out, but Jenke causing a bit of grief for her.
Benison for Melbourne. Southby bounces it in for Arnott.
Not much space, but Benison finds it, works the offside to the defender.
One of the funny things, I suppose, about two quality teams playing each other is that they're going to produce a higher error rate than when they play a poorer team, because the pressure of the defence is greater. More turnovers than either side would have produced last week.
I think so. I think we've seen more in this quarter than any, so perhaps just a lapse in concentration. Again, it comes back to early days in the season. Another good ball to find Southby at the end of the move. Early days in the season, you have to get used to playing this level of intensity. So that could be part of the reason. Jocelyn Bryant again warming up in back play. Good shot there of the 4 Melbourne Puma bench players.
Southby. The last two shots going a little better for her.
It's interesting, for all their panic and hesitancy, they still have that 7-goal buffer, and yet the sense on court is that it's, you know, really close. Oh, stretched that one myself.
Bourlaise. Taverner. Dick to Arnott. 3 minutes left in this quarter. Southby for the 7-goal lead again.
Well, she's recovered from a really shaky start. She's put up 6 straight.
Pearce.
Bourlaise working the back space, trying the dodges on Jenke, but Jenke's glued.
And that's off Avellino. Jenke can advance. Taverner on the drive. They look pretty good, do Melbourne. That's their best passage to the post for quite a while. Can Arnott finish? My word. Eight the lead, and with the centre pass, Melbourne. Contact against Danny Grant. McInnes takes it.
And Dick was looking for a quick play the ball. McInnes jogs in to do it. I think trying to settle them more than rush it on.
Now, off the post and off Gill. So it's with Southby, with Arnott for the throw-in. Benison, quick hands to Southby. And she's back on song. Quick centre pass taken by Garble. They've got to pull in 2 or 3 here before three-quarter time, and that's not the way to do it.
Now, misunderstanding then as to who was to receive from Grant. Went straight between Avellino and Bourlaise, and they look unhappy chappies. Chapettes. Heads are down.
Oh. Avellino and McInnes, Australian teammates, but
now it's the toes and the knees.
wasn't the best time move.
And again.
Southby. And a miss. Gill.
Well, nothing happened through the middle of the court then for Garville. Squire belatedly puts the drive through. They were all backing off the ball.
Well, Garville better goal here. Looking at a 10-goal lead if they turn it over. 10-goal deficit, I should say, but they haven't.
Captain Bourlaise puts one through.
Arnott to Benison. Southby out of the circle. Garville just looking to deny Melbourne one last goal before three-quarter time whistle. Southby, though, will have time. Might even be time for Garville for one more if they're quick enough. Bourlaise. Oh, Taverner did well. Jenke. Ingrid Dick down to Benison.
And they want a quick shot. Not through the hands. Won't happen.
Abbott. Bourlaise. And try as they might, they couldn't get it down there quickly enough. And Melbourne have slightly extended their lead. Melbourne in a little bit of trouble as, Adelaide in trouble as they go to the break. 43-34. So Melbourne looking to run it home with a 43-34 lead. And a change in the Melbourne lineup with Chris Harris coming on at goal attack for Danny Arnott.
And the stats just a nightmare for Garville. Only 13 attempts at goal, 6 from 8 for Bourlaise at 75%, 4 from 5 for Avellino at 80%. All Melbourne, and that's deceptive. Didn't notice that as we watched the quarter. The accuracy falling down for Melbourne, so it would have been even more punishing had they been able to keep the stats up. But as you look at it, both below 60s and a combined effort of just in the 40s. So not a good story in accuracy for Melbourne, but ample possession.
Well, 25 attempts to 13. As you say, if Melbourne had converted even in the mid-50s or 60%, they could have wrapped this game up, but Garvel do have a chance. And the job for Garvel is to score every time they have the ball and eke out a few turnovers. Yeah. I don't know where the turnovers are going to come. I mean, the mid-court for Melbourne has looked so solid. McInnes, Dick and Benison aren't going to give you much.
Oh, no. I thought in the opening round across McInnes and Taverner was just stunning. And they've lost nothing in this game. They're so strong and quick to get on the drive through the mid-court through McInnes. Very athletic side.
Melbourne can kick the lead out to 10 here. Grant's on the floor.
Well, I'm sure she's thinking that was not dissimilar to what happened up the other end.
Southby. Thank you. And they're nudging up towards 50. Well, Garvel was set for a quick centre pass then. Couldn't take it. Much of this match hasn't really gone the way they would like. Ball A's. Under 9 minutes to go in this match, and it's Garvel in a bit of bother, or more than a bit. 9 goals worth of bother.
Chris Harris rolling around the back, using the baseline. She does very much play in circles if you watch her pattern of play.
Does it make her easy or difficult to play with, Anne?
Well, I think sometimes, in all honesty, you have to read her moves and clear for her moves. But she does often play in circles, and I was about to say sometimes the trick is knowing when to get out of the way and when to come. But if you play behind her, you really do have to read off her moves rather than assume something will happen.
Nice build-up from Garvel. Sharon Burge just clarifying what the call was there. Possession has stayed with Garvel. I think Ball A's was hoping for obstruction.
Yeah, she was talking about some sort of action off the court. It was just difficult to hear. And that's the difference. Garvel taking quite some time to get to possession in the circle. Useful when they get it, but they have no time. 6 straight from Ball A's, so Ball A's well on track for Garvel, shooting them home, just wanting more possession and quicker access to the circle.
Seven minutes to go as Grant eventually works it to Avellino.
That's an obstruction call, so it'll be a penalty shot or pass. Ball A's though in back play, screaming, yes, yes, yes. She wanted the ball close to the post. I think she's aware that if they take too long, they're just going to run out of time, whether they can score or not. 7 the difference.
Harris. Squire came out, but Harris knew, could hear the advancing footsteps. South. They do not look like faltering now, Melbourne. They look comfortable protecting a lead and kicking it home against quality opposition. So they're looking ominous. There are not too many faults in this Melbourne lineup, and there's strength to come back when you consider Janine Lynch is around. She might even have trouble getting a position back from Rosalie Jenke, the way Rosie's played today.
Nothing worse than sitting on the bench watching the person that replaced you go really well.
Yeah.
Still, I had heard some criticism before the comp of Melbourne's lack of depth in defence, or supposed lack of depth, and you'd certainly have to query that. As Avellino calls time, she tumbled on an ankle. And the 8-goal deficit will be hurting more than all those body parts put together.
Strong rebound from Ball A's. Needs to be. They've got to convert everything.
This for her 8th straight. She's doing everything she can to put them through.
Garvel trying to talk it up, looking for a turnover. They need about 3 of them. Benison.
Well, 7 in just under 6 minutes is not beyond possibility. That might be 1. So they need a couple of turnovers. They've got the numbers in attack.
Oh, and that's, but a good stretch on this, on the planting of the foot from Ball A's. Well done. She does that as well as any shooter in the world, I think. Planting that foot.
Well, so important to be able to plant for closer distance, but also to keep your balance and your strength under the shot. That's an elbow against her for pushing off, and she'll rue that call. That's just what they needed to make the break.
Well, certainly no question from Jenny, perhaps realising that she'd done it in her desperation to convert quickly. Grant. Oh, Pierce.
Pierce shaking off Benison.
440. Abbott. 6 the difference and 440 to go. Borlase. Oh, yeah.
She's running them home. Borlase, 10 straight. No misses.
Melbourne might start to get a little bit edgy now as Garble start to put the foot down. Ingrid Dick.
And another turnover, this time against Chris Harris for running through Gill. She knocked it to the ground just on the move to the circle.
Good break from Squire. Makes it a fast passage down court. And Borlase again anchors the right foot at the baseline over Taverner. And oh, how cruel was that? Taverner. Oh. And that's against Abbott. Came off second best and had the penalty. McInnes.
Pushing off, use of elbow against Benison, so it's all going Garble's way to run it home.
Oh, no.
A few things breaking their heart at the end of the passage.
Well, Abbott really was put under enormous pressure by that pass. So it's with Ingrid Dick. McInnes.
Look at the last 2 turnovers. They've had opportunities to drag 2 back and take their centre passes, so they could well be 1 off even. But they're not. They're still 5 down. 3 minutes 20 remaining.
Clincher maybe from Harris.
Yeah, steadying shot from Chris Harris. She's experienced.
Reminder of those scores from last year when Melbourne won both their encounters, 55-54 and 55-53. This one not quite as close, but they've played it with that kind of intensity. Borlase. Touch under 3 minutes left.
You've got to keep in mind too, Garble could well have just been run over by Melbourne. They had the chance, 10-goal leads to really go on with it, and Garble just have not given in. They've stayed in there, and we've got quite a few weeks of netball ahead.
Well, if you take out that sleepy first quarter from Garble when they trailed 18-11, this really could have been a different story. .2:15 to go. 52-47 Melbourne. Southby to Dick.
And Squire and Gill have reversed roles in that Gill is picking up Harris's entry to the circle and Squire is back marking Southby. So they've done positional switches. Oh, and that was nearly suicidal.
And painful. Oh, it is painful for Garble. It's a turnover. Jenke. And this Melbourne side running all over the court, making themselves available. Southby, Benison, Harris. Squire just lost away on the retreat, and that freed up Harris.
Melbourne.
And I think the match might well be safe with Melbourne. Looks like 2 wins from 2 starts for the team which finished runner-up last year. And they look set to make the semis again in 1996. Remember, they only play 7 round-robin games before hitting the semi-finals. Quite an advantage to finish top. 1 plays 4, 2 plays 3 when they get to semi-final time. First position is much prized. Go through undefeated, of course, and you're guaranteed that position. Benison. Last minute of the game. It's going to be Melbourne's match. Southby. And a misread between Benison and Harris. Fortunately, it doesn't matter. It would have 3 or 4 minutes ago. Squire. Benison tried to make amends. Jenke does. And Jenke's charge out is rewarded. She's had a screamer. Benison. Southby. And Melbourne just starting to ease out again. Garble realising the cause is lost. and just letting go their intensity a little in the last 60 seconds. And Avellino, goalkeeper's up. Sorry, the timekeeper, not the goalkeeper. The goalkeeper's been up all game. 56-49 is the final score, and that is a very solid win for Melbourne. Garble came at them time and again. Perhaps the platform was built in the first quarter when Melbourne, despite a slightly hesitant opening 2 or 3 minutes, built an 18-11 lead. Garble reduced it by 1 at half-time to trail 30-24. 43-34 at three-quarter time, and at the finish 56-49. Well, an effort of solid defence right across the Melbourne back line, and the ability of Rosie Jenke to haul in the rebounds and the intercepts certainly important to the Melbourne win, and as was the shooting of Southby and both Arnott and Harris. A good win for Melbourne, and Anne Sargent is with Rosalie Jenke.
Thanks, Steve. Well, Rosie, congratulations.
Thank you, Annie. Yeah, it was a good win.
You went into the match surely expecting a goal-for-goal encounter. I mean, Garble, former National League champions, yourselves runners-up last year, and I think everybody expected to go down to the wire, but you made the break early on.
We made the break early on, but to Garble's credit, they kept coming back at us, and it wasn't easy for the whole game. And in that last quarter, we just had to maintain the pressure and keep going forward.
Well, I'm sure everybody is pleased to see you back on court at this level. You retired after, you know, back injury really plaguing you for a while. Didn't miss a beat. Looked like you've been there all the time tonight.
I was a little bit slow in the last quarter, but yeah, I decided to come back after retiring, and it's a bit of a shock to the system. I thought I'd be sitting on the bench for the first month, but unfortunately Janine hurt her wrist, so I sort of got thrown to the wolves.
Any panic stations in the camp in that last quarter when Garble looked like they might have just run it home with only a minute or so to go?
I think we just steadied and took the ball through the centre nice and calmly, and we finished it off.
Well, expectations are high this year for Melbourne Puma, runners-up last year. Can you go one better in 1996?
Hopefully, but we'll just take one game at a time and see how we go.
Rosie, congratulations.
Thanks, Annie.
Our two matches today then leave the table looking this way. And to the